Yo.
We always go live when I'm rubbing my nose or sniffing or doing something flattering.
Yeah. What are you doing, Matty? What are you doing before the show?
You
What are you doing with your nose, pal?
you know exact. Oh right, okay. I'm
Yeah.
drinking coffee actually.
Oh, you're.
Oh,
Okay. I mean, that's
look at the
basically the same
mug.
thing. Oh, look at
Look at the
that.
mug. There we
Look at
go.
that. Look at
Now
that.
on any podcast, I'll have free whatever you call it.
Advertising, product
Yeah,
placement.
of my
Yeah.
own product. But yeah.
There you go. Where can I get one of those? Are those on mattyfbrown.com?
No, this is one of one piece. So
Mm,
when I do eventually sell it, and yes, I will have drunk out of it too, only adding value to that. Then I guess it's impossible to set a price on. I think what's that big auction house? Sotheby's, isn't that one?
sure. So one
Yeah.
day you're gonna go on eBay and it's gonna be like Matty F. Brown cup, actually drank
Yeah.
from by Matty F. Brown.
No, I was thinking beyond like eBay. I was thinking like, art
Beyond
house kind of stuff.
art house.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Proper auctioneers. Not that eBay isn't. I mean, eBay's massive.
Like high society.
Yeah, I think this mug is beyond that,
Yeah, I agree. Seahawks on tape is truly
There you go.
yeah. It's something that really needs to be upheld, protected,
Mm.
you know,
What's up,
put up on
Christopher?
a pedestal, etc.
What's up, Christopher? What's up, 509? We
What's
see
up?
you.
What's up,
Thank you for
y'all?
joining.
What's up?
So Ty, I have a story about
Oh, okay.
so I slept in today.
Mm.
And my girlfriend came into the room after I'd slept in. I mean, to be fair, I was working late. There's a reason.
Oh my God,
Anyway,
you have a girlfriend, Maddie? Oh no. All the
yeah,
female
this is
listeners
a
of this show and some male listeners of the show
yeah,
will be
why
very
not?
disappointed to hear.
Yeah, sorry guys. But the reason I'm saying about that is not a humble flex. It is because apparently in the morning I had stiff armed my girlfriend in the back while shouting stuff during sleep.
Shouting what exactly? Were you like playing football in
I was
your
playing
dream?
football, I think. Yeah, I think I
Yeah.
just gave a stiff arm. Yep. So
Yeah,
they get
hit
it
him
was.
with the
It sounded
Heisman.
like the Heisman pose, to be honest, because it's like I
Yeah.
was like curled up in bed, like hit him with a stiff arm. Yeah, but apparently it's like right in the back, and woke her up. She then shouted at me, but I didn't remember any of this. I just mumbled,
Mm.
and it pushed her out of bed. I think so.
So you were Derrick Henry, she was Josh Norman.
Yeah, any
Yeah.
NFL defensive back versus Derrick Henry. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was messed up.
That's not great. That's not a great way to start your day.
Yeah, have you like trucked your wife in your sleep
No,
while she's actually been there?
she's trucked me though.
Oh, so she's the
Yeah.
running back.
She's a very active sleeper. She'll sometimes talk in her sleep. She'll move around. I'll be like up at like 3 a.m., being the degenerate that I am, and she'll just start laughing while she's sleeping. She's kind of a
Wow.
she's kind of a sicko, just like me. So I think we're,
That's
we're
yeah,
two
perfect
peas in a pod.
match.
Yeah.
But some people are running backs in bed and some people aren't. Some people are the
Exactly.
DBs and yeah.
Some
I
people
get
are
it.
the DBs. Some people are, guards, tackles,
Yeah. No, I have talked about
tight
this on
ends, definitely.
well, definitely, yes. I
Yeah.
have talked about this on the podcast before, but I do talk a lot in my sleep and quite a lot of it is about football. But never
Mm.
actually playing, usually shouting like about cover 3 or something.
Because
Actually.
of course, that sounds very on brand for you.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah, yeah,
now,
yeah.
now, let me ask you about this this girlfriend of yours, if she does exist. That's
Right.
still,
Right.
debatable, of course. Um,
Mhm.
how much or how little have you told her about American football and how it works? Do you get super like sicko, like just nerdy on her at all, or you keep it pretty
No.
basic?
I mean I mean it's all relative, isn't it?
Sure.
But she did
Sure.
come up with it was a cupcake play
Okay.
where
Oh yeah, you told me about
it's
this.
2
Yeah.
crossing routes, yeah.
And they make
Um
a cupcake.
yeah, but like that's a classic man beater. It already exists in the league.
There you go.
So
She's basically Sean McVay.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah, not much. I mean, there isn't much of an interest.
You haven't explained bonus fire zones yet? Haven't gotten to that stage of the relationship yet?
We're working our way through cover 3, cover 2.
Okay.
You know,
There you go.
just the basic stuff.
Yep. Yep. You haven't explained the 2-4-5 yet?
Well, that's very complicated.
That's true.
Even some watchers of Seattle are still having trouble with that.
That's a good point.
The Seahawks themselves were having trouble with it.
That's a pretty good point, actually. Yeah.
Although not in recent weeks. But we'll save that for the film podcast.
We'll save that. We'll save that. Yeah. That's called a tease, folks. How was everyone's holiday? If you celebrate, let us know in the chat.
Yep. Hope you had a happy holiday. Sorry, we didn't wish those who celebrate happy Hanukkah for when that was as well, because it was a bit before Christmas, as I think it is all the time. Very ignorant of me, but you know. Anyway, right. Let's
Matthew.
No, yeah. Let's get this on the road.
Let's go.
Welcome to the Seattle Overload podcast, where we have the Seahawks Week 17 news roundup and chat ahead of a massive, massive week in the future of the 2022 Seattle Seahawks. Ty, it's make or break. Is it going to be make or is it going to be break?
I have no idea. Because really, I don't know what Seahawks team we're going to get. 1 week, the defense is putrid and the offense is pretty good. It's passable. Then the next week, defense pretty much gives you everything that you could possibly ask for. And then the offense, can't score to save its life. So I have no idea what we're going to get on Sunday. And also the Jets probably have the best chance that they could possibly have to win this game with Mike White returning, because Zach Wilson is a dumpster fire and Joe Flacco is Joe Flacco. So they have arguably their best quarterback starting this week, and defense is playing pretty well. So I'm not feeling incredible about this game, considering the way the Seahawks have played, especially the last couple of weeks. But again, I don't know. Everything could just click for them this week and it could just all come together perfectly. And that would be great. That would be preferable, actually. How do you feel, Matty?
Well, the defense, I think, may be fixed, but that is famous last words, especially against a talent like Mike White. The offense.
He's such a good quarterback, Matty. He's so elite.
He's very talented. He's no Davis Mills. That's what I'll be saying.
Sure. Yeah. Good point. He definitely is no Zach Wilson.
Oh, hell no.
That's the most important takeaway here. That's basically the point that I was trying to make. So
yes, yeah. I thank you. Now the offense looks kind of broke, but hopefully not, because of what they did against Kansas City in the second half, where Walker ran more decisively. Tape shows that too. I said I was watching during a family meal, but watching back, like, what on earth? He's like trying to bounce out like a play designed to cut back, like just hit the hole, man. And that's kind of been an issue for him, which has cropped up a few times this season. So hopefully he's sort of learnt his lesson there, and hopefully they can run the ball effectively. But what I should have asked Pete Carroll on Monday and didn't, because I was like, no, you don't often get to Zoom into press conferences because they don't often do Zoom press conferences and it's difficult to work out when they're doing it. But I should have asked him, rather than getting my defensive questions in, on how challenging this Jets defense is, considering the fact it's basically a very similar style to what San Francisco do, and Shane Waldron seemingly runs out of ideas against the 49ers, who obviously have a talented defensive front, but the New York Jets have a very talented defensive front of their own. Robert Saleh's done it again, kind of, with the way they play up front, and they play the same system, basically. So that's terrifying and not a good sign, because they play a similar width on the edge and similar speed and similar middle field open looks, and very aggressive as well, and attacking and penetrating. And that's bad for Seattle. And you think about how the run game experienced a revival where they're running these under center looks, Walker's getting downhill, hitting the hole, decisively, and they're getting actual movement and displacement up front for the first time in a while in that second half against Kansas City. And then you're like, well, Waldron against the 49ers ran his lowest season total of under center and his second lowest, because I think he doesn't know how to deal with, obviously, it's Nicholas Bosa, isn't it? It's all, I always get them confused.
Yeah, Nicholas.
It's Nicholas,
Yeah.
Saints Nick.
Nick.
Defense player of the year, probably. But, the Jets still have, like, a really talented edge group as well. Obviously, Griff and I will preview that game, but we're kind of doing that now as well, aren't we, Ty? Don't tell Griff.
Yeah, we're doing a little previewing, doing a smidge of previewing here on the Seattle Overload. Yeah, it's just there's a lot of things here that is on paper does not look great for the Seahawks right now. So just again, considering the way that they've played the last couple weeks, I'm not feeling particularly great about this. But you mentioned the under center stuff, right? They got to stick to that. They got to figure that out, because that's how they're running the ball most efficiently. And Walker's just not great taking runs out of the gun. Like he's just I feel like it enables him to be overly patient, like he's been, where he's just like he's looking for something else to develop at the line, and it's just not happening. Where he just needs to hit the hole, like you were saying, because like I saw that so many times on Saturday, and it's incredibly frustrating. When it's like, man, like yeah, you're probably not going to hit a home run here, but those 2 to 3 yards that you just passed up on could have been really useful here. So we're not in constant third and longs, and then you look at their third down conversion rate. And that's the story, right? Like they couldn't sustain drives. It was mostly because like they were in a lot of third and long situations because they couldn't really get the ground game going. Like Walker ended up having 100+ yards on Saturday, but I think it was like on 27 carries or something like that. And they basically had to force it, and a lot of that is skewed by a few big runs, and that's where most of the yardage comes from. And the rest is just, I don't know. They need to have a more consistent ground game, being able to get those 2 to 3 yards, here and there, just to set themselves up in some, better third down situations, better passing down situations.
Now, what will hurt their run game, Ty, is that Will Dissly, the tight end, who was really their best run blocking tight end. Now, Noah Fant can do it, but he's not quite as good. Colby Parkinson is up and down with it. But also, Dissly, signed to a relatively big deal this offseason, raised some eyebrows, but he's having a great year. He's, I think Griff said he was 4th in EPA per target amongst all pass catchers. Minus 38 targets. Yeah. Wow. Minimum of 38 targets. Sorry. So, yeah, 4th in the league in EPA per target among all pass catchers with a minimum of 38 targets. So he's highly efficient as well. And when actually thrown to or thrown at, he is landed on injured reserve with what Pete Carroll described as a rare knee injury, something they hadn't seen before. That doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. They don't know if he's going to have surgery, but it's like one of those things he was playing through and it just got too agitated, got too much for him to handle. And so he's done for the year.
Yeah, that's not ideal. Because in my opinion, he's their best tight end, and especially for the run blocking. And obviously this is not a good run blocking line as is. And so losing one of your best run blockers in general is going to really hurt. You're going to really feel that, and it's not going to do you any favors here as you try to get this run game going. So it's a huge deal. And so Pete Carroll, today saying that this is a really unique injury. They've never seen anything like this before. Specifically, what he's suffered, it's something on the top of his fibula. They don't know if it's going to require surgery. So we'll see on that, but he's done for the year now, landing on IR this late into the season. So that's a huge blow. It's a massive blow. And I mean, yeah, they get Jacob Hollister in, who's familiar with the organization at least, but he's not a run blocker. He's a pass catcher. He's a route. He's he can't do any of that stuff. So, I mean, Fant's been okay. Parkinson's whatever. So this is a big blow. This is a really big blow for them.
Yeah, I'm not sure Jacob Hollister's quite as good as fit with Geno Smith as he was
Yeah.
with Russell Wilson. But anyway, they needed a guy, and I guess he's a reliable vet. Although, like not known for his run blocking, more of a kind of move kind of tight end. So
Yeah.
Will Disley's don't go on trees, as silly as that may sound. Like you run blocking like that from the tight end position isn't often a thing. It makes me wonder if they'd delve into maybe 6 offensive lineman looks. Abraham Lucas didn't participate in practice today with the knee injury he's been dealing with, something he's dealt with in the past, according to Pete Carroll. Obviously, if he can't go at right tackle, but Pete sounded optimistic that he may be able to go, but they're
Mhm.
just resting him. But in Wednesday's practice, he did not participate, and so maybe Stone Forsyth fills in there again. He looked pretty good against Kansas City, and it's quite exciting the amount of mass he could have. But if Lucas can go, maybe they delve into 6 offensive lineman looks where you get a fake tight end who's actually a tackle playing there, as Seattle has done in the past. I think back to Schottenheimer used it in 2018, I think quite a lot when they run heavy offense. I think maybe like there's no reason Forsyth or even Jake Kerhan, who's fallen out of
Mhm.
favor a bit, but both of them could do that. You just run blocking. Now it gives you some tails, but it might be the added wrinkle this offense needs to be able to move the ball still and have a run game that can be relied upon. I don't know. Something to consider.
Stone Forsyth receiving touchdown incoming on Sunday.
There we go. So,
I mean, he's so tall, Matty. You can just throw it up to him. It's that easy.
yes, it's true. It's true. So the other big injury news, Ty, is that Tyler Lockett was catching passes and took part in the walkthrough today, even though he's listed on the practice report as a did not participate in practice.
Mhm.
He's catching passes with what Jordan Brooks described as a swollen hand with stitches in it. But his surgery was a great success, according to Pete. And he's looking like he's going to play, even though he did not participate today.
That's so impressive, man. Like, just a week removed from surgery and you're out there, like he had a fracture in his hand, and now he's out there catching passes, not even or, like, just a little over a week later. That's insane. And this team needs him, right? I mean, Pete Carroll basically said as much, on Saturday, or maybe it was your Monday press conference that you were in, that this team wow, hold on. We need to stop the presses here because we've gotten a $10 super chat from Nick, who says, "I appreciate your guys' content. You need to get rid of Jackson, get a new center and guard. Not much we can do this year, but we can next year if we draft right and develop players correctly." Thank you, Nick, for
Thank you,
the
Nick. That's very kind. So
super chat.
I guess we will address about you mean Mike Jackson, the left corner, the new center,
Gabe
and
Jackson, I think, right?
Gabe Jackson. That would make
That
sense.
that's how I took it, but maybe he also
So
means Mike.
Nick, like in a whole new interior defensive line, I think definitely adding competition in that area and maybe 1 or 2 new starters would be a good move. I agree. But
Yeah,
if
agree.
you I took Jackson and a guard to be 2 different, like, Mike
Right,
Jackson. But
right,
anyway, I
yeah.
think, Nick, all those areas of things that they'll look to upgrade, and, yeah, this year, talent has been a slight issue, but, um, as you correctly point out, next year is probably more their year. They need to hit the draft, and then they should be able to take over. But anyway, Ty, we're talking where are we going?
I completely
Tyler
lost
Lockett.
one. Oh yeah, Tyler Lockett. Yeah, yeah. Pete, said pretty much, that this team absolutely needs Lockett because they need guys that can organically get open because this line right now is not playing that well, and so there isn't a lot of time for these guys to get separation. And so, I don't know if you watch the tape or how much of the tape you've watched, but I'm going to assume a lot of the issues where guys just didn't have time to get open, right? Guys just weren't getting open at all. And that's mostly because they don't have, like, behind Lockett, they don't really have guys that are good route runners. Like, just being honest about it, like, they're just not good route runners in general. Even DK is not a great route runner either. And so, and we've
Just
talked about
different
that a lot.
type, and, yeah, we
Yeah.
know his route tree. But you're right, like, even with Lockett out on the field, like, and it was against a great team in the 49ers, but the route concepts that Waldron called up, they weren't quite really getting open. They weren't working as designed. Like the primary deal wasn't there, and then obviously the 49ers have such a great rush.
Mm-hmm.
But then, like, you remove Lockett from the equation, as you're saying, and you get in more third and longs, and then you've lost that intermediate kind of zone windows, sit down in the hole dude who can pick up that first down for you. Like Goodwin's a speedster.
Yep.
He didn't participate in practice today with a shoulder wrist injury, which is something he's been nursing. And then the Metcalf isn't that. You kind of know what route Metcalf's getting. Even if Geno signals to him, hey, let's do this, you know you're going to get like a deep route tree kind of deal. Unlikely to be a post. Often it'll just be a go route or a deep comeback, and that's what teams defend. And he's going to be split out wide. Maybe putting him in the slot would be an option, but it's still going to be kind of a vertical route tree. The thing with Lockett, like, I'd anticipate the hand being like, okay, he has to catch the football. That's important. And, it might hurt if it's zipped into him. Geno spins the ball lovely and they throw it so hard and it does hurt you. But you can wear a glove, right? And I don't know, you can take some painkillers to nullify how much that may hurt. My thing would be like blocking. Like, that's going to hurt if you get that caught in a face cage or something, or just you're going to have to stick your hands in the breastplate of a dude or stalk blocking. I don't know. That's interesting. Maybe they run a lot more of plays where Tyler's running the jet constraint play the other way and he doesn't have to go and lay out a big block, or maybe they have him on a attached bubble screen, which they never throw, to protect him a bit. That's something to watch for. There's actually quite a few guys who also didn't practice, Ty. So I mentioned Goodwin. Travis Homer didn't participate in practice with his ankle sprain. I feel like that's something that, they've already had to make a few roster moves and they might make some more. But that's something to me that it sounds like IR. Well, not IR, but maybe IR. What am I talking about? I mean, an ankle sprain, like at this point in the season, a high ankle. I know home is important, but like we don't know what type of ankle sprain that is. But like a high ankle sprain typically means you're done for like 6 to 8 weeks, right? Like maybe even longer. Depends on the severity, obviously. But anyway, and then Noah Fant.
if they don't do anything, that means that they think that he has at least a chance to play in like the wild card or divisional round. But like, how valuable is that roster spot? Like, how valuable is the extra roster spot to you, with 2 weeks to go? Really? Like, I guess you could just afford to wait it out.
Maybe. Yes. And then what happens in the playoffs. But he's definitely the next guy to be utilized, I guess. Then Noah Fant out with a knee injury, which obviously is notable with the absence of Will Dissly already. Abraham Lucas didn't participate with his knee, which we talked about. Kenneth Walker, the third, didn't participate with his ankle, so they're probably just resting that. But, need him to go. And Ryan Neal still out with his knee injury, while Nick Ballore out with an illness. Now, Neal is kind of needed back because, I mean, it was Abram's first game, like proper full game, but he was really, really bad. Like, he busted quite a few assignments. It looked like his first game, and Tabor's more of that kind of, I think they want a bit of a box hitter. Like, they split time, but especially with how the defense is transitioned almost back to the real old system of like 2013, where you have more of a strong box safety type and then more of a free deep safety type. So they kind of probably want Abram out there more, and he was busting a lot of things. So that's not good. They need Neal back if possible. Then limited participation in practice, Ty. DJ Dallas with an ankle injury, Bruce Irvin with a knee/heel issue, which he's been nursing. Boye Mafe snap counts increasing, and Darrell Taylor got praised today for his technical improvements, but also his understanding of the scheme and what that asks him to do. So that's good. Maybe it's finally going to click and he plays more and they trust him to set the edge. That would be nice.
Yeah, Clint Hurt was talking today about getting Mafe more snaps. So I'm interested to hear your thoughts on that because I've heard you and Griff speak about Mafe, and you guys would know a lot more than I on this. That you haven't been very high on Mafe this year. So what do you think about the idea of getting him more snaps here? You think that helps at all?
I mean,
Like,
he's just kind of an energy dude who's obviously a good athlete, but yeah, like, I mean, in theory, he should be able to drop a tiny bit into coverage because he can run, and then he should be physical enough to set an edge.
Mhm.
But like, he honestly, some of the stuff he does, it's like he's so raw, like he's new, like with just the movements.
Right.
But yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
there's a reason Irvin's played so much is because he sets a reliable edge consistently. He's very savvy. He works hard, and he gets other people right too. Very few of the defensive issues have been on Bruce Irvin. The problem is he is 35 years old, playing, touching like the 90% mark of snaps each week. Although this past week was an exception because he's dealing with this injury. Same with the week before as well because it's a short week. But
Right.
he, his pass rush isn't always going to be like amazing. Like in an ideal world, Taylor just plays all the time and he's pass rushing even better than Uchenna Nwosu. But anyway, now the other big news, Ty, is that a full participant in today's practice was Big Al Woods.
Oh,
Big
yes.
Big Al, like Big
Big
Al's toy
Al.
barn. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm sure
I'm
he'd
gonna
love
be late
that.
for work.
There we go. He
There we
just
go.
reminds me of like cheese puffs. He's eating the cheese
Yeah,
puffs.
yeah. No,
Oh
the
man.
scene that I remember is where he paints over the Andy marker on Woody's shoe. That's what I remember. Yeah.
Was that him? That wasn't the evil guy who like gets Woody all
Oh,
polished
right.
up?
Well, he hires that guy, right? Doesn't he
Yeah,
hire
yeah.
that guy? Yeah, he hires that guy to polish over Woody's shoe, right? Or paint over Woody's shoe.
Right, right. There we go.
Either
Woody
way,
gets all shiny and he goes off to, was it Tokyo?
no, it's to go to. He's like a part of Big Al's collection or whatever, like personal collection.
I thought he was going to like a Tokyo
Oh
exhibition or
yeah, oh
something.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. They were gonna like send him off. Yeah, because there's like the whole plane thing at the end. I haven't seen that movie in so long.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out Toy Story 2. Shout
Yeah.
out.
Do you know what? I watched Lightyear like
Oh yeah.
a few weeks ago. Really bad. Really, really bad.
I heard that it's very bad. I heard that.
Like the worst of the
Which is
Pixar movies that I've
yeah, which
watched.
is really surprising because Pixar usually does a pretty solid job. That's yeah. The Chicken Man. Yeah, that's right, the Chicken Man.
The
We gotta find
Chicken
the chicken.
Man.
Yeah, we gotta find the Chicken Man. Yeah,
Al Woods is no chicken because
that's right.
he's been missed as much as the D
Hell
line's
hold
played.
on, real quick. Hell of a segue.
There we
Hell of
go.
a segue.
There we go.
Proud of
I
you.
always think segues are better when you point out what a great segue is and just derail the segue. You know what I
Exactly.
mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. We do that a lot.
We do that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So the defensive line, they've been playing pretty well, and it seems they've got the cohesion and the connection going up front, whether they're in their nickel 2-4-5 deal or in base where they've been running quite a bit of under and a bit of over. And honestly, like as I've said, looking like the 2013 Seahawks in their schematic style. Now, Mr. Woods coming back probably means they'd run a bit more bear defense where he can play the head up nose.
That's
Seattle in the
right.
past few weeks have been playing like a shaded nose because it's been lighter mass up there. Obviously, with Monet out, Puna Ford's been playing the nose. And to play a shaded nose, you can power step into the center, knock him back, and you have the front side A gap. So often you're got the security of a linebacker fitting into your backside A gap to keep the center, a bit aware of you. Your double team is going to come from a guard, but then you've got a linebacker coming up in the B gap often to keep that guard double team off you a bit as well. Whereas if you're head up nose tackle, then you're mirror stepping the center and then looking to win into the backside A gap, which to that point, you're probably going to get doubled a bit more. It just requires a bit more mass often, and Woods is that guy. So him being back
Mm.
would be big, and it would also free up Puna to play more 3 technique again, although his quickness at nose tackle has been a nice thing for Seattle.
Yeah, Puna's stepped up here. They've needed him too. I mean, they just haven't had the bodies like you mentioned. Like Monet going down was just disaster. So getting Big Al back is really nice. Now the Jets don't have a particularly great run game. They've obviously lost their 2 running backs. I'm not really sure how well they've performed just as a run blocking unit in general, but I just they're not a great run team in general. So, but that's nice to have. It's nice to have Big Al back for the next 2 weeks, hopefully, at least.
Yep, he made it through the whole practice. There's no. Obviously, he's dealing with a sore Achilles, just needs some rest. So yeah, big time. And the Jets will try and run the ball. They will. And I'm sure they'll probably try and come at Seattle with the concepts that's troubled them in the past. But the defense said after the 49ers game, I said, hey, they've gone back to some old stuff. This is reminiscent of 2021's plan. But even, like Legion of Boom kind of scheme as well from Seattle, it's not looking like they've sort of thrown out more of the Fangio ideas again. Obviously, they're still doing some of them, but they're sort of blending it. They're finding the right balance of calls, etc., etc. I think they might have found something, and lo and behold, against the Chiefs, they do even more of like old stuff. And I'm like, whoa, hold on now. This is like, did they just copy and paste the old defense? And yeah, they kind of did. So there's a sign again that I don't know this, but there's a sign that maybe Pete Carroll again sort of stepped in and gone, hey, let's do this. Or maybe just Clint Hurts gone, hey, we got to win now. The defense isn't going to get fixed doing this. We'll just go back to what we can do, what our guys can do. And they're doing good at it because they've got that personnel for it. And it works. Like, it does work. So the other thing as well is when I sort of posed that question to Pete Carroll on Monday, I said about how I asked him, is your performance in the 4 down nickel fronts, your better performance, is that to do with playing more one high defense and finding the right balance of calls? Or is it to do with just players getting a better familiarity and understanding? So is it like a coaching thing or is it a player thing?
Right.
And he started by saying that's something I'd like to talk about off camera with you. So it's a shame that we couldn't do that because I'm in England and he is in Seattle. However, interesting that he was cagey on that. I mean, obviously he's going to be slightly cagey, but he was super cagey on that. But he did say that there's been a better connection. Sometimes it just connects better and there's more of a connection. And that was obvious. That's what happened against Kansas City. But to me, that connection's been present. And he's while he said it's not as simple as running more one high, I mean, as we've seen from Seattle, like a video we did of the Panthers game where they were awful just running one high 2-4 defense. They just busted stuff. Now they're all playing together. There's a synchronicity up front, along with the fact that they're playing with more of the numbers advantage in the box rather than being outnumbered. So yeah, all big time. And I do think the blend of calls is a thing, but Pete's not going to try to get him to admit that, but he's not going to. He's probably not going to say that in a press conference when they need to win games and they're not all happy in Germany. So yeah,
this is a massive game coming up, not just for the Seahawks but also for the Jets, because both of these teams are really clinging on to their playoff hopes right now, trying to stay alive in this thing. And there's a lot of revenge games here. There's obviously the Geno aspect of it, but also Pete, former head coach of the New York Jets.
Yeah, when he did the choking gesture to Dan Marino.
Yep.
After well, I don't think it was to. I think it was to the Dolphins, right? Because
it was just Dolphins.
Yeah, he was just because they missed a field goal. And then did they lose that game?
I miss shit talking Pete. I wish Pete would talk some more shit. It'd be sick if he motioned over to the sideline one time after a big win or something. It'd be tight. Down for Petty Pete.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Pete did that choking sign, and then Marino marched him down the field, and they won the game. The Dolphins
Yeah.
still won.
Yeah.
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 I miss Pete. Also, that Pete defense, Ty, believe me, I've tried, but he said that they're running a similar defense to what he ran with the Jets. That's what
Mm.
they're aiming for. So I tried looking for it.
But you couldn't find anything.
Well, I found a bit, but
Oh, okay.
it's VHS.
Right. So there's also Robert Saleh against the Seahawks, former team.
Well, he can't. It's not revenge, is it? He didn't get fired. He got promotion from his stint with a very
every
successful
player and
defense.
coach going up against their former team is a revenge game, Matty. This is how it works.
And by the way, Robert Saleh, don't ask me how I know this, but he still uses like what is basically, well, the same language of his appears in Bo Pelini stuff, and it's the same defense. Bo Pelini worked under Pete Carroll. I believe they're all doing the kind of Monte Kiffin style language, which I also asked Pete Carroll about, and he was like, "No, yeah, not as big a deal as you think."
How do you know this, Matty? How do you know about Bo
Well,
Pelini
there's
and
how do I know about Bo Pelini?
Bo Pelini and Bob Saleh and all these calls and languages that are being used here? How do you know about this?
Well, but Bo Pelini has been very kind at sharing some of his stuff, not with me personally, but with the coaching community. And then the coaching community kind of passes stuff on. So that's nice. And then how do I know about Robert Saleh? Well, one, watch his defense. And then two, if you go on this website called
Be careful.
Jetty Images.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Robert Saleh always has a really nice menu of play calls.
Oh.
And occasionally you can see that menu. And not, that'd be weird to like spend your whole time
Yeah.
going on
Be
Jetty
completely
Images,
unhinged.
searching New York Jets, scrolling through every single picture from that game, then paying. Well, how much is Jetty Images? It's like they want like £400 for one image.
Yeah.
Paying or finding someone who has access to Jetty Images for the high resolution shot, and then zooming in on each little card that he's holding. Can you imagine doing that? That would be weird.
That would be really weird. You know,
That'd be sick.
You know, it would be even weirder is to actually. You know what? I'm not going to finish that. That might get us in trouble. Anywho.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah. So back to the revenge games. We're gonna ignore that. We're just gonna completely hard cut here.
Marquand Manuel revenge game.
Marquand Manuel revenge game.
He was the step kick guy. How could Pete take all the credit? No, I don't think he was, but
Jason Myers revenge game, of course.
Oh yeah, J My.
DJ Reed revenge game, which actually is kind of a revenge game,
because they paid him more than Seattle was going to pay, and like Seattle had the money, they just spread it around a bit more.
And DJ did go on Twitter and say like, "Hey, like I, that was kind of bullshit." So there might be some bad blood there. There's also been the Sauce and Tariq beef that Sauce had to downplay today, but he's been talking a little bit of shit on Twitter about Tariq. Thanks to all the Jets fans who made me the highest voted cornerback over whoever was in the lead or whatever he said. He said some petty thing like that.
I don't understand. Like, so where was he taken? Second overall?
Fourth.
No, fourth.
Fourth.
There we go.
Yeah.
Why on earth? Like, whoa, the fourth overall player might be more polished as a cornerback than the 5th round pick who was literally taken in the 5th round because he was very raw. Shocker.
Yeah.
Shocker.
Yeah.
I liked Sauce Gardner's tape. Their defense is pretty cool. The one thing they're really good at is they they really play the red line, their corners. So like if they're in off coverage and they're playing a quarters like defense,
Mhm.
they will and they're like defending the sticks, say, they will pedal out there, but like when it gets close to the sticks, they'll just make sure they've pitched their tent and they'll slowly turn and run with like an if someone's going to try and run outside of them. They won't open up too quick. They'll camp there and they'll say, okay, make that throw. In between me and the very shrinking sideline because you've run around me. Him and DJ Reed are really good at that. But yeah, Sauce is quite a bit fragile, isn't? Well, he's just very competitive, but he likes to talk. Whereas Tariq's like the opposite. He's very humble, which is cool. It's a cool story.
Which is weird for like a really good corner too, because they're very like usually corners, like the good corners in the league, they talk a lot.
Well, I think
Which
that's
like
what's
is
cool
fine,
about Woolen.
and
That's
I
cool
like
about
that,
Woolen,
right? But
right?
like,
Like he's
yeah,
Woolen really he is in that phase of like he doesn't know what he doesn't know. Like yeah, he's still learning how to play cornerback. Like kind of nuts. But he
yeah,
had a pass breakup against Kansas City, which was nuts. Like Abram, one of the mistakes I was referencing was meant to be playing in the post,
mm,
and he like came down on a shallower crossing route, and so it was still like a deep crosser. It was off play action, so there's a deeper post coming from the other side of the field that Woolen was running with. But then he's like, okay, I can probably pass this off to Abram in the deep post, but Abram didn't take it. So Woolen is in a trail position, manages to catch up,
mhm.
see the football, undercut it, and get it incomplete. Almost should have intercepted it, but like just the play to do that, to like not just to catch up from being out of phase to then being in phase, not just to atone for his teammate's error, but to actually like track the football as he's doing that and then swat it incomplete. It's really good ball skills, like
Yeah,
super, super impressive. Like he, man, like next season, whew,
yeah.
like
That play is what people thought the one that he had against the Rams in LA was. You know what I'm talking about on the Wolford underthrow, where they were like, "Oh my God, look at how much ground he made up." It was
oh yeah.
yeah, and Wolford. It was just a bad throw from Wolford, but
Yep.
people were
Yep,
like
yep,
going
yep.
nuts for that play. But this one was actually like incredibly impressive. Um, yeah, that was a really nice play from Tariq. He just like he keeps on just doing cool shit. Like he's not like he's still like got a lot of stuff that he needs to work on, but like there's some legit flashes here, and it's gonna be like you said, like next year is gonna be nuts for him when he has a full off season to continue to hone what he's learned this year. Like it's gonna be a wrap for dudes. Like there's gonna come a time where he really starts to master this thing and starts actually really playing cornerback, and that's gonna be scary.
Yep.
Just gotta stay
You're right.
healthy. Just gotta stay healthy. If he stays healthy, like dude, sky's the limit for Tariq Woolen.
Yeah, and like good, like good for Source. Like
Yeah.
Seattle, like it's so funny. Like the narrative of like Seattle plays. Well, I don't even know if that's a narrative, but like there's probably a thing like Seattle plays more zone than New York, but like the Jets run a lot of too high coverages.
Mm.
Like I'd say that they're probably on an island to like a fairly equal amount of time, but a lot of Seattle's calls ask to Willem basically to play man to man and be on an island. They like push coverage away from him and stuff. Like they don't, they use his abilities.
Mhm.
And he's come out on top when he's played the best receivers. Like so.
Yeah.
Now, so did Source get done by probably one of the best, well, definitely a top three receiver in the league? He got done by Justin Jefferson, didn't he?
I think so. Yeah. I
Mm.
mean Jefferson like dude,
He'll
Justin
do
Jefferson.
anyone,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
yeah, that I
he's
mean, but that would be cool. Maybe we see that if Seattle makes the playoffs, Minnesota, Seattle.
that would be I mean,
You'd
scary,
love that.
but also I
It's like
mean
the
like
best possible
they're
matchup.
yeah, no it is because like they're fake. Like their defense sucks. It's awful. So yeah, at the very least, if your defense doesn't play particularly well, you might actually have a shot to win a shootout, or at least have a chance at a shootout there. So,
So, Ty, talking about other NFL teams,
mm,
week six. week 16 of the NFL season happened.
Matty, get your mind out of the gutter.
No,
Saturday,
you
now
can't do this. Griff
today,
isn't here.
now today. No, I'll still bully you. I'll still gang up on you. I don't need Griff.
Yeah, because I'm the British boy. I get it.
Yeah,
I get
exactly,
it.
exactly, exactly.
Right. So it didn't go very well. So firstly, the Jets lost to the Jaguars, which I mean, kind of
Jaguar.
irrelevant, but like the Jets are now 7-8. They need to win this game against Seattle. Like, it's both teams with the playoff hopes on the line. Then the Bears lost. I mean, to be expected against the Bills, but like they're 3-12.
Yeah.
You'd quite like them to get a win for the banter.
Would the Broncos pick go to 2 if they finished the year tied with the Bears?
Yes, I think
Oh,
so.
what? Oh, okay. Interesting.
Now, the Vikings beat the Giants, which is great for Seattle because now the Giants are 8-6-1, and the Vikings almost messed that up. The Lions also lost to the Panthers, great for Seattle. Now the Lions are 7-8. The other unfortunate thing for Seattle was the Cardinals looked like they were going to be frisky against the Buccaneers, but they lost, so they're now 4-11. The Packers won, so they're now 7-8, so they're suddenly looking tasty.
And the thing, well, here I'll let you continue, and then we'll talk about the Packers because the Packers make things a little more complicated now.
Oh, do they? That's unfortunate. And so the other big thing was the Commanders losing to the 49ers 7-1, which means basically before we get to the draft pick, Seattle, if they win their next 2 games, they need the Commanders to lose 1.
And the Packers. They don't have the tiebreaker on the Packers. I did the playoff machine, had them finish with the same record. Packers finish. Packers get in with a tie, apparently. So
now, the Packers' next 2 games are hosting
Lions
the
and
12-3 fake Vikings.
Yep.
And then hosting the 7-8 Detroit Lions. So
not easy matchups.
They can't defend the run, the Packers, but they've been running the ball a bit more. So that's a bit nasty. And then the other team I spoke about, the Washington Commanders, today announced that Carson Wentz was their starting quarterback again because he's back from injury, which, I mean, that's ballsy considering they were on a pretty good run.
That makes me feel better about the Commanders' chances of losing a game, honestly.
Yes.
So.
Their remaining schedule is at home to Cleveland and then at home to the Dallas Cowboys. However, even though the Eagles lost to the Cowboys this weekend, no, they didn't. Yes, they did.
Yeah, they did.
The Eagles lost the Cowboys this weekend, so you might think like, well, hopefully that keeps the NFC East in play, and so hopefully, then the Cowboys don't rest their players in Week 18 because they've still got a chance of winning the NFC East. But they are the type of team who would rest players if they've got nothing to play for in Week 18. So really, the Commanders versus Cleveland is a pretty big game as well. So basically, Seattle has kind of ballsed it up, but they've just got to control what they can control and win the games. And if they went, what would it be? Ty?
They'd be 9-8.
Yeah, 9-8 not making the playoffs. That's probably fair, isn't it? 10-7 not making the playoffs would feel harsh, but 10-7 would make the playoffs. So
yeah, it's a little bit harder of a pill to swallow when you see like whoever wins the NFC South is probably going to be a sub 500 team.
Well, you say that, Ty, but Seattle lost all their games the NFC South.
That's true. That's true.
What they deserve.
That's true. That's true. That's true.
But as I say, keep the faith because the Packers still didn't look great. Like Tua. I mean, we don't have to talk about that, but Tua played through another concussion. Like, what the hell is going on there? It's awful. Come on, Minnesota, do them in. You've still. Thing is with Minnesota, they're 12-3, right? What's the best NFC team? 13-2 Eagles. Go and get the number 1 seed Minnesota, and then
Exactly.
go and play Seattle. Just do it, you know.
Yeah. They
So just beat
gotta
them.
hold off. They gotta hold off the Niners for the 2 seed. Like there's stuff that's still in play for them. So they should keep on trying hard.
And then the Commanders, right? Just lose. Just do a Carson Wentz. Just do that.
Do a Carson Wentz. I mean, dude, come on. Like Cooper Rush could probably beat Carson Wentz of the Commanders. So
yeah, definitely. So that's all we have to worry about, Ty.
Yeah. Look, I feel pretty good about the Seahawks' chances if they actually win the next 2 games. But they got to win the next 2 games. You got to win this week against the Jets. If you lose this week, all this is for naught.
And as we've said, Ty, it would be very Seattle if they went to the Rams. They hosted the Rams needing to win and they'd be in. And then McVay just pulled off like an absolute masterclass. Like, you know, they just collapsed.
I mean, they just did against the Russell Wilsons, the Denver Russell Wilsons, and Nate Hackett's final game. Segue, Matty.
Yes. So the other big thing out of week 16 is the Seahawks' likely Super Bowl was won in astonishing fashion by the Los Angeles Rams. Wow. Nickelodeon MVP Baker Mayfield went off. But really, it was actually an issue with the Denver Broncos offense coughing up the ball.
You don't say.
Wilson intercepted 3 times. Ripien came into the game. Things got so bad. He was intercepted once. Russ
he also fought one of their offensive linemen.
Yeah, they're fighting linemen on the sideline in honor of Russ. None of the linemen are helping Russ up. Russ is throwing like awful picks. He can't play against that kind of defense. Mayfield completed 85.7% of his passes. Cam Akers had 3 touchdowns. And Denver then went and so the big thing is Denver fired Nathaniel Hackett after this. And they remained
because obviously, Matty, this was the low point of their season.
Yeah, this was the time to do it. When you give up 51 points, I mean, to be fair though, giving up 51 points is like
to the Rams too, who've won 4
banged
games.
up team who are, I mean, at the time they were 4-10.
Yeah.
So now the Broncos are 4-11.
Of the year.
Yes, hilarious. Now the Broncos are 4-11. But they fired Hackett. And their head coach is Jerry Roseberg, interim head coach. Roseberg, known for his special teams coordinating. He was with the Baltimore Ravens until 2018. He then left coaching. I watched his press conference today. He was working in, he was studying some medical thing to try and help players recover, I think, and athletes. But he came back into coaching. He was brought on earlier in the season to help Hackett's game management. He's now the head coach. He speaks very well. Denver's final 2 games, though, even though Roseberg speaks well, do not look easy. Like, if they win these games, I'm going to be very, very annoyed. They play at the Chiefs, who are 12-3 and still vying for the number 1 seed in the AFC. So you'd hope there was no miracle there. And then they host the 9-6 Chargers, which may be more of a problem because the Chargers have made the playoffs now.
Yeah, but they're still seeding at play and stuff like that. Like I think they'll probably play their starters.
Yeah. So hopefully they do, and hopefully Denver loses both those games. And that Seattle, you know, gets it done. Gets that number 3 pick, or maybe better, because the Bears play at the Lions. I mean, crazier things have happened. And then that would be pretty crazy though. And then they host the 12-3 Vikings, which at that point in the season, maybe the Vikings are resting players.
Maybe the Vikings, after beating the Packers and locking up whatever, decide to rest their starters against the Chicago Bears and let them have a win.
Maybe. the Arizona Cardinals, they play at the Falcons this weekend, who are 5-10. So hope that's one where maybe like
there is a scenario here, Matty, where the Minnesota Vikings in 3 consecutive weeks could significantly help the Seahawks. This week, beat the Packers. Next week, allow the Bears to beat them and help out that Seahawks pick, the Broncos pick, and then lose to the Seahawks in Wild Card Weekend.
Oh my word! That is
So
dastardly. It must happen.
Big Vikings guy here.
Always have been. These teams are intertwined. Pete's buddy, Eddie Donatel.
Oh,
he's over there.
Oh, Eddie. Yep. So, what could have been? I mean, don't you just
how different would it have looked? Like,
don't you watch the Vikings defense and wonder, man, how much different could this Seahawks defense look? Not at all. It'd be still really fucking bad.
Yeah, it's kind of wild. The Vic Fangio system, eh?
Yeah. So there was a tweet here from one Dan Orlovsky that's made the rounds, and I want your thoughts on it. He has grinded the tape and has devised a plan to fix Russell Wilson, if I can find it. To fix Russ, Orlovsky says, simply put, need a coach to build everything around an offense that is out of the pocket based rather than in the pocket based.
That's a novel idea. That's a novel idea from Mr. Orlovsky. I don't know. Why haven't they tried that? That's so weird. Like,
why haven't
I've never heard that suggested before. That's bizarre.
Yeah, why haven't the Seahawks tried that? Why haven't the Broncos tried that?
This guy should be coaching.
Exactly. Get this guy in an NFL front office. It's it's just the same exact takes that we've been hearing, dude. Okay, so like, I was on YouTube yesterday, doing the YouTube, or as you say, the YouTubes. So I was on the YouTubes and I saw a video of, you do.
That's wild.
And so I saw a video of like the fight on the sideline between Brett Rippon and Dalton Reisner and that whole thing.
Nice.
But in the same video, they also showed the 2 plays that happened right before that fight. Well, it wasn't really a fight. They just kind of yelled at each other, whatever. So on those 2 sacks, right? Russ runs out of a clean pocket, sacked. Russ runs out of a clean pocket, sacked. Then the whole, Brett Rippon comes out, Dalton Reisner saying you need to protect Russ, whatever. And then I look in the YouTube comments and the same thing is happening. Russ is just getting destroyed by his offensive line. His offensive line can't block anybody. It's just the same narrative over and over and over again. Why can't we just admit that this guy has flaws? Like, I know he's been like the punching bag this year, and I feel bad about that at this point. Like, it's been a lot. It's been a lot. And I do worry about Russ from a mental side of things. But there are legitimate criticisms to have of him, and it's time to stop making these same tired excuses for him 11 years now into his career. It's ridiculous, dude.
Yeah, so I don't get why people are acting like this is something which happened overnight. Like, they're saying get him out of the pocket more, let him run more. Like, he cannot run as well as he used to. His burst and agility's gone. Like, he is also 34?
It's 34, and I mean, it's really been
like he can't run as explosively. He's kind of stiff, and like it came up. We saw it. Like, we were saying this was issues in 2020, and Griff then he really phrased it so well with the min-maxing thing of like, we can only do so much deep passing, and he won't do the kind of intermediate layers. You've got a very small menu of quick game. You have up tempo, but you can't do that all the time. So then what do you do? Well, you've got to run the ball pretty well. And then hopefully your play action deep shots also become a bit of more of a thing as well. But like, that's the thing which has gone wrong with Denver, is like teams know that that's the Russ. I mean, I said 2021, 2020, we said it like Russ has been kind of figured out here, and they sort of need to, like 2018 is his most efficient year, and they became a very run heavy offense.
Yeah.
Probably too run heavy, but it rebuilt Russ from what was a really bad end of 2017, where yeah, okay, the offensive line was bad, but like he was sacking himself. I just don't get why also, and like it was just chaos. Like he just melted down mechanics wise. 2018 they rebuilt him up. 2019 they sort of started gearing, and that was a really good kind of balanced year. 2020 it swung too far, and then they couldn't get it back, and I think they uncorked a host of like ambitions and other things, and then the trade happens, and like I just don't get why people are acting like it's happened overnight. And then you have, along with all of this, the kind of just unusual robotic nature, which I know I think it's gone too far, like on social media. But then he did ask for the trade.
Yeah.
The Seahawks were very very keen to make that clear. There was all these media stories coming out about how and people saying how backwards Pete Carroll was, and how Russ is limited by what's happened in Seattle and wasted and stuff like this. Now I don't think it's things are never black and white. It's never like 100% one way. And I think with the divorce as well, that's the case. But also with like, did Seattle make mistakes? Yes. But like,
yeah. But dude, like, even if he didn't ask for the trade, even if he didn't force his way out, Seahawks were right at the end of the day. Like, they were right to move on. So.
And so, while it is going too far on social media in terms of his character and stuff, like attacking that and saying, is
attacking
he
his wife?
Saying, is he interested in football? Well, I think that is, it's kind of a fair question. But I think the bigger thing is, like you see him on the sideline, and there's the video from the last game where he is talking to his offensive line with a football over his mouth. And the camera is side on, so you can see what he's saying anyway.
Yeah.
It's just bizarre. Like I just don't. It's like
were you able to decipher what he said? You a good lip reader? Like obviously you're good at finding play sheets, but reading play sheets. But
no, I'm a bad lip reader. But yeah, it's just I guess like when you're in a rut like this, I guess you default and you become a more extreme version of yourself because you sort of default to habits and trying to manifest things happening, and so you act even more like the person you think you need to be. I don't know. It's very odd. It kind of seems like I don't know how you fix that situation. Like you can't get rid of a whole offensive line. I know Garrett Bowles had his back and he got injured. I know their line's been banged up, but like this was bad from the jump. Like that game in Seattle, they were running the ball well. Seattle couldn't stop the run, and then they took too many shots. Russ had an okay game, but like that looked like a really good game plan from Denver. I remember saying after, like, Denver's going to be a good team this year because their defense was really good, and it looked like they were going to be able to run the ball more. But they just hadn't got it going. They didn't shotgun run enough. Like they had the weird up tempo empty stuff, and then the game management part of that game was hilarious, and it's planned out the whole season. I don't know, like, and I feel if you're an offensive coach, like you see what the tape shows. I don't really get how you don't. Like, I don't know how, like, as much as coaches think I'm going to fix this guy, and that's an appealing concept to them. And as an offensive coach, you'd be like, oh, I can do it with my system. But I really don't think it's that appealing. Like, it's going to have to be like someone who's desperate, or someone on the defensive side of the ball, or someone who needs a second chance. Like for instance, Dan Quinn, maybe that does make sense because he's like a second time head coach, and he's like a culture dude, and he's a defensive mind, and he knows Russ kind of like but I don't know. And like the Schottenheimer,
it's gonna be very telling.
Like, well, and like the Schottenheimer thing,
fix it. Yeah,
we still think like Corbin Smith of All Seahawks, he reported that Russ's camp and Russ pushed for Schottenheimer to get fired. So I I don't know where that's coming from. Like, is that, you know, is he okay? Is he willing to brush that under the carpet? Is because like Benjamin Albright, one of the Denver guys, he's always saying linking Schottenheimer with the job, but like as a name. But is that like the agent pushing that? Like,
Yeah.
where's that coming from? Is that just trying to get Schottenheimer's name back in the media cycle? Because it seems crazy if that's what happened and Russ's camp did push for that. Can you really patch that over? I don't know.
Yeah, no, I just it's so weird. Like, and obviously we're not, behind the scenes. We don't know everything. We don't know how all that stuff went down. There's conflicting reports and all this stuff. I just the thing that's really telling to me too, right, is like George Payton outright said like, "Oh yeah, we think Russell can be fixed." Now, I think it was Mookie over at Field Goals that made a great point here that I don't think Russ is going to take kindly to being basically called broken by his own organization. So now that's just going to create even more issues potentially.
Maybe. I mean, at a certain point, he has to actually be. Remember with the Seahawks, there was all that talk about being accountable. Like Schottenheimer was brought in, it was like we're gonna have more accountability. So maybe that's been a problem for some time. I don't know. I'm just sort of theorizing and sort of based off what we've seen, but like I don't know. Like at a certain point, you have to kind of. Surely he knows that. I mean, he said himself, like I haven't played up to my usual standards. But then, on the contrary, this is actually, kind of what we've seen. I mean, it's what the tape showed. It's just the struggles were kind of hidden by, a defense which actually played better down the stretch of 2020 into 2021 was up and down, but they had a bit of a run game they could lean on. When Russ comes back from his injury, any bloody quarterback could have played well, really, in that because they were running the ball so well.
Yeah.
So yeah, the finger injury was like kind of the perfect. Like, I wonder if that hadn't happened, how it would have looked with Russ in Seattle, and if they'd have got the same trade package. It kind of was the perfect excuse for them to be like, "Oh no, he's fine after the injury, and yeah, we're still going to trade him if you're interested." Um, I don't know, interesting, but so Ty, yeah, go ahead.
One last thing on that. Is there like obviously, we're big Jalen Carter guys over here. I know Griff likes Will Anderson.
Well, no. Well, hold on now.
Hold
I
on.
haven't watched any tape. I'm not going to be called a big anyone guy.
No. All right, I got you.
Like,
But is there a part of you that just from being petty that kind of wants the Seahawks selfishly to draft their quarterback of the future with that Broncos pick? If it's not Geno, right? I mean, they already have that. They have Geno Smith.
They already have their quarterback of the future.
That's right. But is there any part of you that's like that'd be kind of funny? They did use that pick on a quarterback.
No, I've already been vindicated in my takes. But yeah. No. What are you?
I'm not a Geno denier. I'm not a Geno denier.
Sounds like you're petty though.
There's just a part of me though that's like I kind of I'm just being a little toxic here that I kind of want that quarterback there with that pick, but Jalen Carter, please.
Okay,
Jalen Carter.
We got a few questions at the start, Ty. If you can stick around, we could answer them.
Sure, let's do it.
All right, Dustin Washington asked, "Is this defensive system the right D for our personnel?"
I don't know. You would be better to answer this one than me.
They've run like 3 different defensive systems this year almost. They're like kind of in a weird blend of calls. I think they're starting to get some of the stuff, and I think the personnel's good. Like, people talk a lot of crap about the personnel. I think the personnel's good. I think it's hard to play gap and a half or almost like 2 gapping technique. Like, I mean, look across the league at how the teams running the Fangio stuff is struggling to do that up front. And they're struggling with similar issues to Seattle. And obviously it helps if you have good players, but like, at a certain point, yeah, it's difficult. Like, I think like watching Denver, they are similar. Like, they don't have a crazy like Aaron Donald type in the interior of the defensive line, but they're just more familiar with it. Like they're sort of more versed in that. I think Seattle's been trying to balance this year, like acclimatizing to that, along with like actually playing a defense that works.
Mhm.
I don't know. And then there's also a thing like I asked Pete, like, you know, did it take time to adapt to this new defensive language and stuff? And he kind of was like, yeah, kind of. So yeah. Oh, let's go. Right. Okay. Next question. Good to see some old faces here as well in the chat. Thank you everyone for participating. It's always great.
Yep. Thank you.
Right. This is a question we've had a bit. How would have Ugo Armadi have fitted in our current defensive scheme? Obviously, he was cut just before the season started. Considering we consistently play 3 safeties and dime. So the reason Ugo was cut as a nickel is because basically they want their nickel to play a lot more essentially man-to-man on receivers across the field. So like when Seattle plays cover 3, now, whereas in the past they'd have had their nickel zone, like he'd reroute the receiver up his seam and then zone off into the curl flat, the outside underneath space of cover 3. Now they have him match it to that could be deep, that could be deep across the middle, but they match vertical stems. They also play so basically Ugo didn't fit there. And then when they're in, whereas they feel like Kobe Bryant has the skills to do that, he's been up and down. It's a tough assignment. Obviously, they brought in Justin Coleman to do that. He might have been past his peak, or maybe they just wanted to give a young guy a chance. Probably a combination of both. Now, the dime thing, Seattle in dime plays more. The third safety is more of a dude who has to be able to play inside the box, not that nickel type. You think like Ryan Neal who did it. OKT's table has come in, but like he's still bigger than Ugo. But basically, like it was time to give Ugo another opportunity, and I'm sure he asked for it. Where is he now? Because he got released from Tennessee, right?
Yeah, he's bounced around a bit this year. He was first he was traded to Philly for Arcega-Whiteside, and then he went to Tennessee like a week later, and then Arcega. Remember, we've been over this, Matthew. And then November 3rd, apparently he signed to the Chiefs practice squad, and that's where he still remains.
Well, good for him. But basically, he's more of a zone corner. I mean, Kansas City's a good fit because like they just run loads of different types of shells disguised with pressure. So like Ugo's kind of fitting that. He's very good at disguising.
That's right, Christopher. Everyone remember to like the video. Like,
thank
subscribe,
you.
turn on alerts.
Oh, maybe it's a distraction and Christopher hasn't liked the video and it's a red herring.
Will you remember to mention the donation link this time? I don't think you've had.
No,
I don't think you've.
so.
I don't think you've
I'll
done
do
it.
Ty, I'll do that in a second.
Let's answer some questions. It's cool. It's cool. Is there anything else we got? Or Maddie will scold you if you don't like the video. Yeah.
Exactly. Matty, how often from Nick, who very kindly donated earlier? No pressure to donate, but that is very much appreciated. Matty, how often do you get to ask Pete questions? Every time he does a Zoom press conference, I'm going to try and attend, but working out when that happens is a different challenge.
Isn't it just after it's the Monday or
after
just the
road
first
games? I think.
Yeah, after road games. Yeah.
So if I get my stuff together, hopefully more. But obviously they don't have any road games unless they make the playoffs.
So that's really the reason that Maddie is rooting for the Seahawks to make the playoffs.
Yeah. Can Wilson be fixed? I think we answered that.
At this point, no. Sorry.
If he becomes literally like a jugs machine. So
it's Will Silver.
Yeah. No, there you go. That's it. So finally, this was the official 100th episode of Seattle Overload, which is pretty cool. Funny Griffin isn't here, and I think
Yeah.
it's actually probably like the 128th or something. But we didn't really have our stuff together because we suck, or we did suck. But now we met Ty, and Ty actually like, along with me looking into stuff.
No, it's all me, Matty. It's all me. Don't give yourself any credit. It's all me. It's all me. I'm the mastermind behind this. Even though that it's on your YouTube channel, and even though you're the one that got us set
Well,
up with
it's on my
Odyssey.
YouTube channel for like a good reason. Like, it's not that's not because of me, really. It's just it. Well, we'd have to get into this on air.
Forget the part that you were the one that got us set up with Odyssey and all that stuff. No.
I mean, that was just
I'm
the
the
DM.
mastermind.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of cool though. 100 episodes. Thank you, everyone.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it literally
Thanks,
wouldn't have
guys.
happened without the listener or the subscriber or whatever. So to that point, like the video, as Christopher said, you know it, CST. Comment on the video. If you're listening, please subscribe and download the show. Give it a 5-star review. And everyone, follow Ty at Dane Gunzelers. Follow me at Matty F. Brown. Follow the podcast at Seattle Overload. That's all on Twitter. We're 100 episodes old. We're going to do 100 more, contractually obliged. And then maybe 100 after that. Even if the Seahawks lose this weekend, we'll still be doing the podcast. And obviously, the off season is only just beginning. Like, it's going to be a massive off season, so stick around. And Ty, at your behest, Ty has asked me to point you in the direction of, we have a Stripe donation link, which is just
money,
a tip
please.
jar. Yeah, money,
please.
money, please. So, on YouTube, you can give us a super chat, which we've already had a few of, very kind, or you can donate to a Stripe thing. It will say that it's for Seahawks on tape. That's my Stripe, but with every donation, every tip, we split that equally, third. So yeah, but again, the only thing you have to do is you have to like the video. You have to give it a 5-star review. The rest of it is very kind of you, but just listening and downloading is enough. So, and we're grateful for that. But
no, we want your money, or we don't want you at all.
Yeah. So like, it's weird how like, Ty feels like that. I'm a bit more. Isn't it nice how there's different personalities on the podcast? Anyway, so
Maddie's gonna kill me after we get off of off air here.
No, impossible, because you're not in England.
True.
Terms of service, right?
All right.
Well, that's us done. Enjoy. We'll be back tomorrow with the film podcast, Griff and I, and Ty. And yeah, tell a friend about the show, and come in the chat tomorrow and be like, "Hey, I told Bob Dylan about your podcast."
Bob Dylan. Wow, I can't wait to hear about the 3-4 defense. Amazing.